This is Kal Kat, the Kal Katster. Greetings from the year 2397. Yes. I have just finished watching Star Trek First Frontier, a 2020 fan film, which had some of the production crew from Trek Yards in it, including Samuel Hawkins. And several actors and stuff, but not main B actors, not A-listers. The story concerns Robert April and the first mission of the Enterprise, similar to Enterprise's First Adventure on the McIntyre, similar to not unlike the Diane Carey one, First Frontier. A little bit of both of those. A little bit of Best Destiny. A lot of the book. So it wasn't an adaptation of those necessarily, just took elements of them. The premise is that the Sol system is threatened by a new alien race that wants to destroy them, of course, and then fire viruses at them, which is kind of ironic, and so it's a silly track. No, it's not a silly track. Actually, I was not involved in this particular fan film. But yes, I am wearing the Nick Lucarno shirt thing from Chimera. This story would have taken place, I don't know, they said 2320, but that doesn't make sense in terms of the star date. It wouldn't be. It would be 2345 or so in the classic Trek. First 5-year mission before Pike is April. Robert April and his wife go on the ship. Robert April has PTSD from a previous mission. Crew of this other ship is trapped on the Endeavor comes back messed up. It explodes. There's a crew trapped on an asteroid. They don't know where it is, but then they figure it out. It's around Jupiter. They go to rescue it, and the aliens track them back to Earth. They can use the weapon on them, and then they basically defeat the bad guys by playing dead and then going after the alien ship. The original captain was Collins, probably a nod to Stephen Collins. That was going to be the captain, but he ends up getting wounded. They probably shouldn't make a nod to Stephen Collins just because he's the actual actor who played Decker in Star Trek: The Motion Picture. Later on ended up being a creeper. But that's not what they were getting into. Visual effects wise, studio setting wise, all of that, top notch for a fan film. Similar to the Hidden Frontiers, but it's a little better than Hidden Frontier. Similar to, Hawkins helped with it, visual effects. So there you go. So Trek Yards helped with the visual effects on this. The sets appear to be a combination of green screen and practical sets. A making of documentary would be interesting. They appear to have a cast. Smith wrote it, but I'm not sure. And directed it, starred in it, of course. I don't really know them. I don't think directly or indirectly. They were working on it for a couple of years for the 50th anniversary, but it wasn't ready yet. Just like Star Trek Chimera wasn't ready yet. So now mine came out last year. Now this one came out. It wasn't Excalibur. That one didn't make it. This one is similar to that. You have people who are in their late 40s to early 60s playing characters that should be 35, because it's the people that probably wrote this story years ago, and like we did ours. So they're like, well, then they're now old enough to be the admiral on the ship. But okay, I'm gonna. Visually very, very interesting, but they're not necessarily high-priced SAG actors, Screen Actors Guild actors. They do mention SAG at the end, so they're some of them are actors. And you can tell the ones that are actors because they can project. It's one of the main drawback to the whole thing, and it's mentioned several times online, is the Foleying, the audio pickups. For a production that involved at least 24 people in terms of the making of it, and 4 cameramen and one gaffer, and it's one gaffer. It should have had 2. Also, although visually it's interesting, it's a compelling script, it would be nice if you could hear most of it, because the script is cool. So, yeah, it's kind of the same problem with Spectre years ago. The other one we were in. The same problem there. They wanted to show a lot of, and I can't really say it's the same thing with Uncharted, because Uncharted was never made into a fan film. How to do it right is you do something like Action Arm, where you get actors to be in it, or even Renegades is similar to this in that you have visuals that look nice and makeup that's okay, but then you have some drawbacks that could be fixed in post. I really think that Mark's Cards and I worked on our fan film Star Trek Chimera for 13 years and released it last September, or late last August, early September, and our fan film is a 3-part miniseries about the Starship Chimera that goes on a mission to beat the Q and go to a planet where there's a bunch of stuff going on. Because the Q were threatened by higher beings from the Cillian space that have come to threaten them, the villains, and Q must defeat the villains essentially by doing something like essentially by having Kirk and crew do their thing. By showing Kirk and crew in Picard's era vicariously through Q, whisking, Locarno, Dax back to the past. Okay, that's Chimera. And then everything's made right by the great bird of the galaxy, the Kirk god, who fixes everything. So it's a Q on top of a Q episode. But this one was not a Q episode. This was more the whole Star Trek cliche of, I think 2 or 3 of the movies did this. Earth is being threatened by some kind of space creature thing. Which is fine. Okay, Earth is being threatened by space creatures. I did a whole galaxy being threatened. There is one production mistake that I was able to catch. Somebody refers to the solar system as a galaxy. The admiral on the planet was on the solar system galaxy. I think it was a science officer. So they come from another galaxy. No, they came from another solar system. Also, warp 6 from Jupiter to Earth would be instantaneous, if less than instantaneous, because it's warp 6. Warp 1 would have made more sense. Warp 1 for a second. They'd be, it's the speed of light. If it's warp 1's the speed of light, then warp 2 is this logarithmic 10 times that. Warp 2 would have been fine. Few seconds. Warp 2. Warp 1 probably would have taken too long, because the speed of light to Jupiter is like, 40 minutes or something. So that would have taken a little too long. But warp 2. Also the Scotty Lake engineer and all that. We have it's a setup for a pilot, apparently, for the Captain April series. So it is a good series. It has good characters and stuff in it. The drawback is the sound foleying, as many of the people have pointed out watching this video, which was put up a week ago. I'm not gonna see it, but a week ago for the 54th anniversary of Star Trek. Ours was 53rd, but this is 54th. It would have been the 50th, but it wasn't ready yet for ours. And this one probably was too for the 50th, but I wasn't ready. So there's a weird backhanded connection. So can't take too much. Can't say that it doesn't suck. What they need to do is they need to download a new version of it, go back, and Foley the sound correctly. So yeah, that might be a little bit of a challenge for them. But yeah, they need to do that. They need to fix the sound. Because the actors don't seem to project very well. There's a scene that I commented on the thing saying, well, the argument scene, you can hear them. The other scenes, there was an argument in the sick bay scene with the husband and wife. Kind of doing a Seth MacFarlane in his ex scene, kind of. But they make up in this version. So it's a little bit of the Orville. It's a little bit inspired by that. But now every scene's going to be compared to the Orville. So it's more like Big Bang Theory. But, and there's, of course, a young hotshot astrogator guy. There's probably the guy's kid. I don't know. I think it's American Audience, actually. He's got a cameo. It's not his kid. But, yeah, they put their friends family in it. And I don't think they're not literally, they're not all related. Some of them probably are related. The husband and wife probably really are. I don't know. But it would be interesting to see the making of this movie. And you just take it back and into the studio, the editor. You have the software. It was probably Final Cut Pro and not Photoshop Elements, but you should be able to do that. And then get the music track, take out all the Star Trek stingers that relate to Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. Now, when you're doing a fan film, it's fun to show an allusion to other Star Trek movies that are classic and whatever. But if you literally use entire tracks from the other movie, it's going to make you want to stop watching your fan film and go and watch that movie. So, as a critique of fan film, and my fan film had 4 people in the miniseries production. So I take 13 years. It's 4 people. You guys had a dozen, 2 dozen people altogether, so you had a whole cast. We didn't have that. We didn't have that luxury of having a cast. Oh, we did it all by ourselves. Now with the pandemic thing going on, most of my trans films are all just me, the new ones. But you will notice when you look at my fan films that the Star Trek one mainly, because that's not the trans one so much. The music is entirely my own. I put all of the music, made it sound a little bit like Star Trek, did some of the stingers, but it's my own. There had to be somebody in that dozen or so cast that could play an instrument. That could say, okay, I could probably, do some synthesizer keyboard and make it sound a little bit like The Wrath of Khan, but not actually be The Wrath of Khan. Be its own thing. Very original. I don't think CBS is going to flag it. But if they could, if they wanted to, because you're using tracks from The Wrath of Khan, I subscribe to the channel, of course. But yeah, but I wouldn't do that. But Paramount could get mad because even though the copyright laws restrictions have gone away a little bit, allowing fan films like this and mine to be produced. Last year mine was first. I said, oh, they've lifted the restrictions. You can release an hour-long or 2-hour-long one if you want. No. As long as it's not professional, and as long as it says it's unofficial, as long as it says it's a fan film, it's not really Star Trek, and they can get away with it. So yeah, the others could finish. Actually, Star Trek Phase 2 could finish. Continues finished with their final episode. Star Trek Phase 2 never finished, even though they had George Takei in an episode. Blood and Fire. And the other one, yeah. But yeah, and the other one, not Blood. Oh, what's the other one? Oh. Well, no, it was, that was the other one. He was in both of those, but. Anyway, so, Time, World Enough in Time. That was it, yeah. So, yeah, even though the guy on Continues, Mignonia, is the brother of a person that I went to high school with. Vic Mignonia is a brother of Vic, so it's a connection. It's weird. It's his brother. But Continues, I really didn't know those guys. But they could have finished. They could go back and finish that last episode on Yonanda if they want to. Because they'll let them do it. Because, yeah, the current Abrams, they've lifted up some of the restrictions. Or she doesn't work there anymore. Abrams was doing Star Wars under the table. Well, then whole Star Wars movies. So yeah, you fix the sound. Go back and re-edit the sound fully, and all the parts where you have. If you want to keep the Wrath of Khan music, that's fine, but it makes you want to watch the Wrath of Khan. It doesn't really fit. So get somebody that knows how to do the sound mixing and editing, because you know sound mixing. You've clearly done that. You have a professional mixer there, guy, but he didn't do the audio dialogue right, so you can barely hear half of the dialogue in it because they didn't Foley and mic up the characters. We did on our fan films, and with our Starcrackers years ago in the 90s, we had that problem because we didn't have mics. We had one mic on one camera, one cathode, just pointing in one direction. Yeah, you couldn't hear them half the time, so the audio was synced badly, even in the rewrite. But it's yeah, we had to redub some of it in post. That's what you do in post dubbing as well. You can have a studio. You can have the characters record their lines and try to match it, which is way harder. But yeah, you can do that. I noticed that the people using the Steadicam work had a better grasp of where the audio was and where the people were when they were doing the Steadicam work. The motions going like this. They probably had a camera similar to this one, but a TV level one maybe. Well, this is a $200 one. It's not TV level, but it's a video camera. It's fine for what it is. It can go 4K, but I didn't do it 4K. It's 1080. But yeah, so it's fine. And the Steadicam, Handycam work is fine for some of it. But the larger studio cameras they had for the green screen and the bridge set were clearly the larger, more expensive ones, and the video doesn't quite match. I don't know how you'd fix that. Because that video is probably blown up from 720 to 1080, and it should be like matching a little bit. Because the special effects parts are 4K, so you've got. Wait a minute. So they. I gotta fix this. So either so you got the visuals you've blown up from 1080 to 4K, or even 720 to 4K. So it's because of the lighting. You're probably using digital cameras, which this is like, and you have to bring up the visuals and lighting and the audio as well. Also common in some of our early stuff, because we did take a little acting. We didn't go to acting school or anything, but we looked like acting in choir plays. I was in choir a lot. So you have to project, you see. Project across the screen when your mic isn't working. Project, you know. So if you have an intense scene, you can have an intense scene, but have it be, you know, it doesn't need to be whispery. It can be intense but whispery, like okay, we have to figure out where those bad guys are. We've got to get them instead of we have to figure out what the bad guys are. We have to get them. No, you can still project, but still throw off like a you know, you kind of have to emote. We must find them. They're over there, you know, or whatever. Oh yes, or I'm going to do my duty, Captain. Now, if somebody's going to do something dramatic, like they have to do their duty and their loyalty to the admiral, they're not necessarily going to talk softly, but they're going to talk like, yeah, don't do that. They're not talking to the girlfriend. The counselor scene is confusing. And these are just critiques. The rest of it's good. Just go back and fix some of the audio. That would help tremendously if you just picked up the audio and said, okay, well, the scenes where they're soft talking, I think you can audio gain some of that. If you can't do the whole tracks, you can audio gain the audio. The heartbeat thing over the action scene works, but not the heartbeat scene over the part where the guy's dying there's a guy dying in sick bay. Then the heartbeat is annoying because you can't hear what they're saying about it. And then when they discuss the virus, you can't hear them. They're like literally like, oh, we have to find a cure for the virus, doctor. Yes, the virus could attack. Whisper, they have to be whispering because the guy's in a coma next to him. But you can still do that with the emoting and still with the projection. So it would be like, doctor, can you identify the virus and come up with a solution? Mm-hmm. Well, Jim, it'll take some time, but I'll have to figure out how to do that with my awesome brain. He's still projecting. He's whatever the quote Kirk, but yes, yes, Captain, it's highly illogical. Yes. You can project your voice out. It's not yelling, it's projection. It's I'm going to open my throat and project. And they're actors, they're minor actors, so you can tell they tried to project. Some of them are very good. The transporter guy, Scotty guy, was pretty good. Yeah, he was pretty good. The I guess Asian science officer, he was pretty good. He genuinely was twisted about that. When they found the alien robot, he's like, oh, they want to destroy us. He was actually emoting. It's like you need that scene because that works. None of the scenes need to be cut. They just need to bring up the audio on the humans that are talking, and then it would be excellent. So yeah, and dial back the Wrath of Khan. That's everyone likes the Wrath of Khan, but. And it's not that hard, because I know you guys probably did have some guys, you probably had some Foliers and the sound editors and sound mixers. You did. It saw it in the credits. And he needs to go back and fix it. And it wouldn't be that hard to fix it, because you probably have all the files, and you can just go back and fix it. Edited versions. So we will look forward to the edited version in a week or so, where you decided, oh, yeah, I guess we ought to fix that. That's fine. Just re-release the edited version and say, yeah, this is the edited version where we fixed the audio. Yeah, now they don't sound like they're whispering underwater in half the scenes. Yeah. And you can tell that it's blue screen work in some cases, because that's what's going on, is whatever studio they were shooting in, green screen. Whatever studio they were in didn't have enough sound editing backup. You can tell when they're in the studio itself, because then there's a little bit more sound quality. It's bouncing off the walls, like the bridge set, bouncing off the walls, so you can kind of tell what they're saying there. But sick bay is a mess because it's probably half green screen. Yeah, and I like the redress of the quarters / meeting room / admiral's quarters from the beginning. I just kept using the same set over and over again. I would do that in my miniatures. With my fan film, it was miniatures and models. I could just move things around. It's cheaper that way. And I have done my bits live at well, I used to do them at Baycon, and Baycon moved, but then went on to Fanime and San Jose Comic Con. Do my bits, walk around as Kirk or Paris or whatever, Picard even. But yeah, so they would see the live Kal Kat performance. I'm like, oh yeah. It's a theater somewhere, somehow. There's no IMDb on this guy. What is this? Yeah, there wouldn't be. I wasn't. Yeah, except for uncredited cameos in 2 movies. Yeah, not really on the IMDb. It wouldn't make sense. But if they want to, they can go uncredited to 3 Ninjas, which I was in the background of that one. And it was in ProSieben Special. I was in the background of that one. Had no lines. I think I had one yell in the 3 Ninjas Kickback. There was a yell in there. During the spark scene. Yeah. Oh, there's a yell. I also, No One Sleeps. Nessun Dwarma. The background of that one. With my sister pretending to eat gross food that was sitting on the set all day. Yes. Anyway, so, I've done some fan films. I mainly do Transformers and Robotech fan films. As my current thing is alternate Transformers mush. Having nothing to do with the alt-right. That's just what the mush was called. Alt-Transformers mush. There's nothing to do with that. It's not alternate really at all. It's very mainstream. There's really nothing in it. But yeah, we're going to runabout. And I was rambling about other stuff that I'd done, just so you know. Renunciating. You could tell that they had a passion for what they were doing. They just needed some. They need to fix the audio foleying in this movie. Really do. It would make it so much better. It would go from a a solid 3 stars to 4 just by fixing the audio. It's like, come on. Anyway, so yeah, there's my review. So it's good, but you need to fix the audio. Fix it. It's probably all on a tape somewhere. You can fix it. Also, years ago, I don't know if there was an update on that Spectre story, but this Spectre guy actually, he did a miniseries. Commenting on very similar things, the audio and too much use of the music from the show. He actually uploaded a version of Spectre on our suggestion. He uploaded a version of a condensed version of the whole thing somewhere. You can look it up. He whittled down the 3-hour movie epic thing to about 2 hours. Got a bunch of stuff out that didn't need to be in there, and it's better. It actually works better. Spectre. Anyway, Star Trek Spectre. Oh yeah, because you didn't need all that other stuff. It's a nod to the video game, so just do that. Anyway, so yeah, I have at least 1 or 2 people on Star Trek Online, but I am not on there yet, even though the Chimera is on there. Not sure why that is. It's somebody else's Chimera. It was designed by someone else, but I said his is canon because it's a later version from the 2400s. It's named after my ship. Anyway, so yeah, it's just named after it. Even though technically the ship from the 2380s and the later the 2390s version are the 2390s version is Phoenix class. Late 2380s version is Phoenix class, and there were several ships. Yeah, the Chimera, Pegasus, Phoenix, all named after mythical creatures. Griffin, and some of them have been featured in Silly in Space. I think pretty much all of them. And the Medusa, which is renamed the Mary Sue in the story. The Medusa. The Mary Sue. But yes, the Chimera ship. So the Chimera original, like, there's the version that's 84205, and then there's a version that's 9700 something. It's the later, in the 100 years later, well, no, 30 years later. 30 years later, and Star Trek continued. So yeah, also I have, my own version of the Titan, where it's not the Luna class one, it's the one after that. It's the Titan. Ew, what also is interesting, because I can elaborate on my own review here, the Trekker and the other ship, the Trekker and the Cillian, the 2 other ships that are in the background, looks surprisingly like the future Chimera. It has the long thing, the bulbous hole with the neck and the thing with the thing out. And that ship is from way back in 2007. So we just kept using the model over and over again. Painted it up a little better. So yeah. So that it definitely, when they started doing the games, they were definitely inspired by some of the early Cillian stuff that was online. They were inspired. They had to have been, and also, Drexler and Justman and those guys. The ship looks like it takes off on that lineage a little bit. So, and Greg Jean and designers of the ships. Yeah. And cars and stuff. Anyway, so from that's the last thing on there is the Ennis Ubin story. I guess I'll put this on my regular reviews channel, technically, even though it's because the Chimera channel is for my fan film itself and not for reviews of other fan films necessarily. So I think I'll just put this on the main one because there's no other fan film reviews on here, just the fan film. Yeah. So that's what I'll do. I'll put it on the regular channel. So Starship Chimera, and I rambled on, but you're gonna like it because I rambled on. It's cool. The Annis Anubin thing, Star Trek Discovery. Annis Abdin. That was a guy who, the guy who thought of tardigrades and the floating tardigrade and the gay character and the angsty black first officer and the basically Starship Discovery. Yeah, the guy that thought of that as a Steam game. And Paramount claimed that, no, it's a coincidence. We didn't really play that. You did, Paramount, you did. They settled out of court. Anyway, but yeah, I would imagine that season 3 will have to put his name on the credits, which was my suggestion to them. And acknowledge it. Yeah, we stole tardigrades from you guys. Yeah, your game. Because after all, the latest people that did Picard stole like whole cloth from Dune and Mass Effect. So, although Dune is probably at this point under descendants of Frank Herbert, it's probably not really. Well, there's a new movie, so some of it's public domain, some of it isn't. There's a new movie coming out, which they were all like, "Oh, what's some of the critics at the." But yes, but yeah, so everybody's liberally taken for Mass Effect. A couple of the alien women and they want to destroy all technology and all android synths, and they create a disaster on a Mars-like planet. It's the same story. It's Mass Effect. You guys just got through a lawsuit with this other gaming guy. Now you're gonna rip off Mass Effect. Okay, whatever. Okay, you got to take down those guidelines about the fan films because you guys are ripping off everybody's fan film left and right. So you might as well just say, they're like, oh yeah, I guess probably should not make those so strict. Yeah. So you can do fan films again, but be careful to credit your sources and say, oh, this is not CBS Paramount. And you'll be alright. So, yes, yeah, so greetings from the future. Live long and prosper.